Welcome into Eye on Northeast Kansas, the podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Bruner. This is where we recap the week that was on our show, Eye on Northeast Kansas, which you can see live 4 o'clock Central Time, Monday through Friday, from our WIBW TV studios in the capital of Kansas, the lovely city of Topeka. We had a great community focus this week, learning about a lot of community organizations and events that are happening around the area. Let's start our conversations with Accord Hospice in Manhattan. Nick French and Bobbie Kramm visited Eye on Northeast Kansas this week. They have a discussion of documentary viewing and panel discussion coming up. It centers around the Frontline, the PBS Frontline documentary, Being Mortal, and it aims to foster those conversations about end of life and end of life decisions. You know, they say dying is a fact of life, but sure doesn't make those conversations any easier. So Nick and Bobbie offered a bit of advice on that topic, as well as the event they have coming up on June 29th. Appreciate you both coming on over to talk about this. And Bobbie, these are tough issues. You're a nurse. How hard is it for families and really all of us to kind of face our mortality head on?
It's probably the most difficult thing you're going to do in life is to start having those conversations. But the sooner the better, so that you know what your plans and what you want your end of life to look like. So you get to make those decisions.
What kind of things should we be maybe thinking about?
What kind of aggressive treatment you want, if you do want that. You know, maybe some goals or what they call bucket lists, things that you want to get accomplished, especially if you are facing some chronic disease or chronic illness. What the end of life journey looks like for you.
And Nick, how do we make those wishes known?
You can make them known through your physician, especially if you're getting a treatment, how aggressive you want to be with that treatment, when that treatment gets to a point or a stage where you feel like it's not making any progress. Quality of life is a big question because a lot of treatments can make us very sick. What are we looking at with that? So,
what sorts of things need to be put in writing?
What kind of, like a living will, will go into what treatments you want. If you want blood products, or if you want a feeding tube, or if you want any of those, dialysis, you know, those are the things that would go in your living will, which is something that you can get online and have those conversations with your family, or you can contact us anytime. We have a pamphlet that puts all of that together. It's called 5 Wishes. It's specific for Kansas, and you don't have to be on our service or know our service to be provided with that pamphlet. So you can call us anytime.
The kind of questions I'm asking are the kind of things that you're going to address with the event that you have coming up. It is centered around this book and this documentary. So who wants to tell me what is this? It's called Being Mortal, which is exactly what we all are.
So it's a documentary. PBS Frontlines put this on. And so the book was originally written from a surgeon. He is also in the documentary, and his goal is to shine the light on how difficult it is to have those conversations as physicians, and how to approach it from a physician's standpoint. He goes into the death of his dad and having that conversation with his dad and with his patients and being honest and what they're looking for at the very end of their life. Are they looking for quality of life? Are they looking for the treatment? There's a good quote on there. The lady says that, you know, we should be having these conversations sooner than a week when the patient is going to pass away, and having the family involved. So yes, so we're showing the documentary to kind of highlight that, and then our panel is going to allow the people to ask those questions, so we can just kind of talk more about it.
Have
so
that conversation.
Yeah.
And I suppose if you think about it this way, if it's tough enough for you to talk about, imagine your loved ones sitting there at a very difficult time trying to make those decisions for you, not knowing what you would have wanted. And is that how you maybe approach it with some of your patients, Bobbie, and the clients who come in?
Yeah, and it's about the patient. Sometimes it's hard to stand back as a family member and let the patient decide what they want. They feel like when they accept hospice or accept stopping treatment, that they're accepting the death of their loved one. And what we want to shine a light on is it's accepting the kind of life they want to continue to live, whatever time they have left. And we make that just as good as we can. comfortable as we can.
Absolutely, because it is hard. It is hard.
Yeah.
But this is what it's all about, is getting the conversations underway so you can kind of think about those tough things now and do it together and not leave your loved ones guessing. So Being Mortal, the documentary viewing and panel discussion is coming up next week, Thursday, June 29th. It's from 1 to 3. They're going to have this at Riley County Senior Center. That's located at 301 North 4th Street in Manhattan. And Bobbie and Nick, I imagine what you want to stress is this is for everybody, right?
Everybody.
Yes.
No fee.
No fee.
And you don't have to be affiliated with Accord Hospice and palliative care in any way.
Not at all. No obligation. Our one of our providers, Dr. Callahan, will be there, and as well as our chaplain and Nick and I to help support.
Great discussion. Thank you both so much for being here and letting us know about it. Appreciate that. Another tough topic is homelessness, and we saw some renewed discussions about that issue in the capital city this week. The folks from ABATE, Kansas have an annual motorcycle ride that they hold to raise money for the Topeka Rescue Mission and TRM Ministries. Frank Votaw came on the Red Couch to talk about that, along with TRM's executive director, Lamanda Broyles. And Frank was very candid about the reasons that he has for continuing to support this ride, which has been around for several decades now. Frank, this is your baby. You organize these things all the time. What is this ride all about?
Well, I was very blessed to be involved with this since the very beginning. This will be 31 years we've been doing it. And the ride was started as a memorial to a good brother of mine. His name was Steve Oliver, and he got me involved in the biker stuff. And he taught me what true brotherhood was about, you know, doing things because it's the right thing to do, having love and respect for everybody. And believe me, this 31 years is all to the glory of God because he put me there. And that's why I know that I'm going to be staying there for a long time.
Why is this cause so important and so near and dear to all of you?
Well, for me, it's a personal thing. When me and my brother at one time, if it was not for the fact that we had a good friend, we would have been homeless. We'd have been out on the street. And I mean, it's a bad feeling not knowing. I mean, it didn't come to fruition, but it was there and it could happen if it wasn't for somebody else. And then it's just that so much has gone on since the pandemic, and it's just an even more prevalent thing that's got to be taken care of. We got to try to help our brothers and sisters.
So, Lamanda, when you hear about a group like this coming in for 3 decades now and helping you, how do fundraisers like this assist?
Oh, man, it is such a blessing. Anytime that we see individuals or groups step up and say, this is something we can do, it's just exciting. It really rewards just the staff and the volunteers when we see groups come together like this. And oftentimes we ask the group, is there a specific cause that you want these funds to go to? We want to be wise stewards, and we want to be respectful of just all the hard work that goes into it. And then sometimes, like Frank and the group, they will say, we trust you. You know, we trust what TRM has done and has done for 70 years. And so we just look at the needs, and then we place the funds and everything to that for what we specifically need. How great are the needs, and where are you seeing the greatest needs right now? As Frank mentioned, during the pandemic, we've been seeing a lot of need grow. We do, yes. We are unfortunately seeing a lot of people who have been financially stable be rocked, you know, when we think about how just all of our budgets are impacted with the increase of food cost and materials that are needed to run households. So our distribution center, the numbers have risen for the needs. So that's one thing we're watching. We are also right now concerned about the heat waves coming in. So anytime we can begin purchasing anything with electrolytes, fluids, those kinds of things that we can outreach. And when we do those kinds of outreaches, Melissa, our hope is then to connect them with our shelter, connect them with other community resources. It's not just us going out with a Gatorade, it's us going out with a Gatorade hoping to hear their story. Trying to break the cycle, and so that's why Frank and his friends have organized the ride. We have the big poster for it. What are the details, Frank? How do people join?
Okay, the ride will start at registration. Will be at the mission on North Kansas Avenue, and then once we get done with that, we meet at 1, the ride leaves at 2, and then we'll take a scenic route out to Perry, Kansas, and the Perry American Legion will be there to help us and feed us tacos. We want to give a shout out to them for helping us for so many years.
Sunday, June 25th is that ride. So if you are just hearing about it and it's past that date, remember Topeka Rescue Mission Ministries always can use a helping hand or financial support or other donations of goods if you are in a position to do so. An organization that received a donation this week was the Ms. Wheelchair Kansas program. It was through our Patterson Gives Back program, a partnership with Patterson Legal. Tyler Patterson made that presentation to Carrie Greenwood. Carrie has actually been the person, she was the very first Ms. Wheelchair Kansas 18 years ago, and she has continued the program after that. It's something that she is extremely passionate about, empowering people who are differently abled. And we got to hear from both Tyler and from Carrie about the work. Carrie, welcome, Ms. Wheelchair Kansas. It feels like just yesterday that you were the very first title holder. How far has the program come?
Yeah, so Ms. Wheelchair Kansas was started in 2004. I was 21 at the time, so I was able. I know. I was able to start the program and bring it here to Kansas, and I think we crowned this year our 18th title holder. So it's crazy how long it's been.
Why is this something that is so important to you? What does Ms. Wheelchair Kansas stand for?
Well, so Ms. Wheelchair Kansas I think is important because we have amazing women and young girls in our state who happen to be wheelchair mobile, who are doing amazing things, and they are advocates and they are successful and they're doing all kinds of things with their lives, and they deserve to be celebrated, and they deserve to have their voice heard, and so this is a platform to allow them to do that.
And we celebrate you, Carrie, because you are one of them and you are an inspiration to everyone. Give a little shout out. Who are this year's title holders that you crowned in spring?
So our Ms. Wheelchair Kansas 2023 is Deja Coleman. She is living in Atchison currently, and she is a teacher, an elementary school teacher. And then our little Miss Wheelchair Kansas is Olivia Woodard, who lives near Wichita, and she is a middle schooler who is, an up-and-coming leader and doing great things in her city as well.
Awesome. Of course, keeping this program going and making it worthwhile for your title holders takes a little financial support, and that's why Tyler is here today. What do you have, Tyler?
I've got a check for $1,000 for Ms. Wheelchair Kansas.
So, Tyler, when you heard about the Ms. Wheelchair Kansas program, why was this something that you thought Patterson Gives Back needed to give back to?
So we're looking for nonprofits that are really making a difference. Ms. Wheelchair Kansas is uplifting women and recognizing women that are making a difference. So it's an organization we really wanted to support.
So when we think about organizations that would also be like Ms. Wheelchair Kansas and would be worthy of a Patterson Gives Back award, how do they nominate somebody?
There's so many of them. Go to pattersongivesback.org and just tell us a little bit about the organization and why they are worthy of a $1,000 check, and they might be chosen.
Well, we appreciate you coming and giving this to Ms. Wheelchair Kansas. Carrie, how much will a $1,000 donation help your program?
Oh, that's huge. We do operate on a small budget. We have great donors throughout our state, but $1,000 means a lot. It'll help us to hopefully, expand our marketing efforts, recruit more people, and just also support our title holders as they bring their message across the state and helping to, pay for some of their travels and things like that. So it'll go a long ways to helping our organization grow and continue to achieve its mission every year.
If somebody wants to learn about Ms. Wheelchair Kansas, where can they do that?
So I would say the best way to do that would go to our website, which is www.mswheelchairkansas.org. And basically all the information is there if they want to get involved.
Carrie, by the way, is also director of the Kansas Youth Empowerment Academy, which does some fantastic work helping people with disabilities advocate for themselves and get involved in their communities. So congratulations to them. Raising money $1 at a time. That is the goal of the Just a Buck campaign. It is supporting Big Brothers Big Sisters of Shawnee County. WIBW TV's digital revenue manager, Chris Fisher, came up with this idea several years ago. He visited Ion Northeast Kansas with Eric Maydew of BBBS Shawnee County to give a little bit of information about the campaign and how you can join in before the end of June. How did this campaign start and what was the idea?
When I was on the morning show a long time ago, it was 9 years ago, I wanted a way for everybody to be able to participate because back then I just had another fundraiser that was geared towards shooting, Sporting Clay's event. And I'm like, we got to be able to incorporate everybody. I'm like, well, what about Just a Buck? We've got tens of thousands of viewers out there. If they all sent in $1, we'd get a lot of money and the problems would be solved. So there was just a buck, and we just started asking for people to send in dollars, and shortly thereafter, the stacks of envelopes just started piling up on my desk.
Well, you're not solving all the world's problems, but you
Right.
are targeting a few of them by selecting Big Brothers Big Sisters. Why did you think that this was an organization that this was a good campaign for?
Because kids need a chance, and when they have a chance to grow up and be effective members in my community, your community, Eric's community, they do great things. And this, in my opinion, Big Brothers Big Sisters really gives kids the best chance that are in those situations that aren't as favorable.
It's an organization, Eric, that has a lot of name familiarity, but for those who aren't quite sure what Big Brothers Big Sisters does, because you pair people up in a couple ways. So what are the things that Big Brothers Big Sisters does in Shawnee County?
Yeah, so we specialize in one-on-one mentorship. Most people know that. The types of programs that we offer can vary. Our most popular is the community-based model, which is what most people are familiar with. That's taking a kid out going fishing, going to the mall, petting puppies, whatever it is you like to do. And then we have our site-based model, which takes place in the schools, where you simply take 30 minutes out of your week to do homework, read a book, play a game, simply just be there, listen, be something reliable for these kids. And we do that for the entirety of the school year. So really simple stuff.
So two different ways people can get involved.
Yeah.
What kind of difference do you see it making?
It's a huge difference, but the funny part about it is, we as volunteers, and I say we because I've been a big before, we're always saying that we don't do enough for the littles, but it almost has a reverse effect after time. And these littles make an impression on us as adults. It kind of takes us back to our childhood. It makes us look at our inner self. What are we doing? How can we be better? And it gives us some perspective, just like it gives the littles. And so it really ends up being more than just a friendship. It's a long-lasting, lifetime relationship is really what it ends up being.
How many kids do you have in the program, and how many are waiting to be matched up? Because I
Yes.
imagine it's a little bit more difficult to find the one-on-one free time, as it were, mentors, as opposed to somebody who just goes and visits the school where everything's kind of prearranged for you.
Right, so right now we have roughly 130 active matches in Shawnee County, but we have 225 as of today, kids waiting for a date.
225 are waiting.
Correct. Those are not matched. Those
More
are
people
waiting.
are waiting than are actually matched.
Correct.
What would it take to get them matched?
225 people willing to spend 2 to 4 hours a month with a child.
You're not asking people to get together every single day with a little. It's just once or twice a month
Yeah.
to give them some extra adult contact and mentorship.
2 to 4 hours a month, and I've been using this analogy lately. We as adults spend about 7 hours a day on a screen of some sort. We're asking for 2 to 4 hours a month to spend with a child.
With a child and make a true difference. Where does the money come in useful? What do you need the money and the funding for?
Yeah, so a primary amount of our funding goes directly back to the program in the way of supervision, right? Because if a child and a volunteer are going to be spending time in the community together, naturally there's a lot of background checks and supervision and things like that. Everything around child safety is where a lot of our funding goes to, is making sure that the children are safe, they're taken care of, and obviously that we can follow protocol and all of those guidelines while we're doing it. So.
And your dollar can make that happen. We'll take a look at Josiah as we allow and ask everyone to participate in the Just a Buck campaign. And here's why timing is so important, folks. Chris has gone out. And Chris, name those sponsors real quick.
Gardner Roofing, Topeka Periodontics, Interstate Batteries of Northern Kansas, and Lewis Toyota. How did I forget Lewis? Sorry.
Those 4 companies total have put up $30,000 in matching money. So you can make your donation for kidsake.org/just-a/buck.
Or go to my Facebook page.
Or go to Chris's Facebook page. You get the direct link there. You can mail it to us, 631 Southwest Commerce Place. And let's get that $30,000 match so that we can then gift Eric and Big Brothers Big, not Eric personally, Big Brothers Big Sisters with $60,000 by the time the month of June is over. It is a great cause, and I tell you, it is great fun to see letters come into our newsroom with dollars in them, to be out in the community and have people say, hey, here's $5, give it to Chris, do the Just a Buck campaign. David Oliver, my co-anchor, is helping Chris out on the effort this year, and so I know they are appreciative of every dollar they have been getting. Again, June 30th is when we want to have as many donations as possible so we can get the full matching donation. What's super fun about working in Topeka, Kansas is this, by the way, tends to be the first job for a lot of people out of school. So we get to meet a lot of new young people that come through our doors, and the community gets to know them and love them as much as we do. Daniel McDonald is the latest addition to our team. He is one of our meteorologists. He's primarily going to be doing the weekend shows, but he's been filling in on the weekdays this week, which meant we had time to get him a seat on the red couch and get to know Daniel a little bit better. You have a little red flowers on your tie, so it matches very well, Daniel.
Well, that it does. I guess I knew it beforehand, so I wanted to keep it appropriate, I guess. But.
Well, you jumped right into the thick of things here because we had you doing forecasts right away, so we haven't had a chance to really get to know you very much. So where are you from? Where did you go to school?
Well, I'm originally from New Jersey, actually. I spent about 13 years of my life there before I moved with my family to California for high school. So I've lived on the East Coast, the West Coast, and then for college I chose to go to University of Missouri, where I studied atmospheric sciences, and recently, this past May, received my bachelor's degree in that field. Over that time, I practiced doing some newscasts and doing the weather over at our university-run station, KOMU, if anyone has heard of that or a bit familiar with the local news in the middle part of Missouri. But that led me to get some good opportunities for after college, and WIBW seemed like the perfect place for me to continue learning and continuing to grow in my career there.
Yeah, why not just like land right in the middle of the country, right? That's a good spot to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was it about the weather that's intrigued you?
Well, it's always just been a very fascinating sort of study for me. Just when I was a kid, it would always, really boggle my mind how, we could go from just very calm weather to, severe weather and, just a snap, even on the East Coast where the weather is a little bit, or even the West Coast, I should say, too, where the weather is a little bit milder and more continuous without many changes. It was something I just always was really fascinated by, and it led me to later down the line, by the time I was in high school and about ready to graduate, where I decided that I really wanted to stick with this and try and make a career out of it, and combine that with a passion I have for sort of being on air and kind of acting in a sort. And I realized doing on-air weather would be a perfect fit for me.
All right, have you ever storm chased? Have you ever been through a tornado yet?
I have not yet. That is definitely something I'm trying to check off, and I'm sure that here in northeastern Kansas I will get that opportunity, if not soon, then within the next several months, because of just how crazy our weather here can really get, especially compared to even Missouri, where things can be a little bit more mild. But that is something I really do want to check off, tornadoes, severe storms, even hurricanes, which, no, it's not something that we really get here in northeastern, or in Kansas or the Midwest.
No, but did you ever live through a hurricane situation in New Jersey?
I did actually, technically two. In 2011, I guess, well, I was young for both of those, but in 2011 I went through Hurricane Irene, which kind of came through the Northeast. Mm-hmm. Not a direct hit, but saw some strong winds and some rain, power outages and all that. Very cool to a younger version of myself. And then the following year we had Hurricane Sandy, which was not even really a hurricane by that point. They called it Superstorm Sandy in the news. So that was, you didn't really see a whole lot of rain or damage from it, but everyone lost their power, and it was like the end of October, beginning of November.
Yeah, they canceled the New York City Marathon because of it that year.
And they canceled Halloween that year as well in the state of New Jersey. So I remember being a little kid,
that was disappointing.
Definitely a little disappointing.
But it certainly makes you appreciate the power of weather. And sometimes we kind of joke, have you seen a tornado yet? Did you go storm chasing? And it's not a game, folks. We do understand how very serious. And in fact, in Texas last night, they certainly learned that. It's a very, very serious situation.
Yes, no, it is something that requires a great deal of planning and precision to, even attempt as experts. So certainly anyone who's, beginning to try and chase a storm or wanting to have that interest in chasing a storm definitely needs to make sure they're always updated with the news or their local weather forecast offices from the National Weather Service, and just staying up to date with very rapid refresh information so that we can, enjoy Mother Nature and all of its beauty, but in a very safe manner to where, things do not go awry, or where we don't get caught in the middle of these severe events.
When you're not doing the weather, what will we find you doing?
Well, I've always had a passion for hiking and a lot of outdoor activities. Baseball is something I like to watch and play a little bit too in my spare time, basketball as well. But as I move out here to northeastern Kansas, I want to take advantage of all the things that a unique area such as this place has to offer. So you'll see me trying to go to a lot of parks throughout Topeka, and maybe even the pools sometimes I've been able to check out over these very last hot few summer days we've had so far.
Well, you're in the right state for basketball. We have some pretty good baseball as well around the area with our various teams, and we'll clue you in on all the hiking trails to go to.
Absolutely.
There's a couple on either side of us down the street. So yes, I filled Daniel in on Kaw River State Park right there off 6th and Fairlawn. I also told him about the History Museum Trail over on the other side of us and Skyline Park and all the great areas that we have around Topeka. If you haven't checked out the trail system, get a map from Shawnee County Parks and Rec. They can help you out and you can have another way to explore the fine capital city of Kansas. Glad you could be along with us for a few minutes on Eye on Northeast Kansas, the podcast. Remember, if you'd like to see the video from these segments and all the segments that we have this week, you can find them on WIBW.com. I put them on my Facebook page as well, which is WIBW Melissa Bruner. Of course, you can also catch us streaming live on WIBW.com, 4 o'clock Central Time, Monday through Friday. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you on the Red Couch.